What is up, duelists? Arts and Crafts here, once again bringing you your daily dose of Yu-Gi-Oh! GOAT format action. Today's feature match, we've got Killer 9208 versus Joker 88. Now, these players were both rated in the top 200 of the Duelingbook GOAT format ladder at the time this match was played, as always, of course. But this was actually not a ladder match. This was unrated. Not sure if this was for some sort of tournament, or they were just looking to get some test games in. But either way, two very accomplished duelers in the GOAT format scene, so excited to see them square off regardless. So it looks like Joker is going to be leading us off first here. And they are going to start off with a Thunder Dragon, so a little bit of chaos action likely coming through. And we're going to go Graceful Charity as well, so really solid opening here. TD plus Graceful combo to go +1. Ooh, and we have the Sinister Serpent as well to plus even harder, so really solid opening here out of Joker 88. Then we're going to go set a monster with a bunch of back row pass. Really strong opening. We'll see if Killer can grind their way back, or this will be an insurmountable advantage. Killer here does have Delinquent Duo. Has to use it now while the Sinister Serpent is in grave. Otherwise, you're never going to get any sort of value out of this. Still a single Thunder Dragon left in hand, but you're guaranteed to hit at least one real card here. So you're still happy with this duo. Yeah, so you hit the Thunder Dragon, and then the last card in hand was the Heavy Storm. So nice, now you don't have to worry about Heavy. Now Heavy, of course, not doing too much for Joker at this point in time because they have a bunch of back row. However, still good to just get some plus value there off the duo. Start to grind away some of this advantage off of this crazy Graceful Charity that resolved. We'll see what else Killer has in the barrel here. We've got Pot of Greed, all right, so all the Trinity pieces being played by both players in combination here. Graceful out of Joker, and then we got Duo plus Pot here out of Killer. So both pretty solid openings. And then we're going to go Graceful Charity. So full Trinity from Killer here, answering the TD Sinister Graceful combo here. So I guess, honestly, you'd probably rather be Killer here, resolving Duo into Pot into Graceful. We'll see if they have any discard fodder. Still don't exactly know what Killer is playing as well. Joker seems to be playing some sort of Chaos deck, most likely. Could be a lot of things, though. And we're going to discard, let's see, Trap Dust Shoot, which is dead, and a Don Zalug. Okay, so Trap Dust Shoot is definitely a fine discard at this point in time. Looks like Killer might be on a little bit of Warrior action here. Joker may be on Chaos Control, Chaos Turbo, something like that. And then we got Heavy Storm as well. Joker has the Solemn Judgment set. That's going to be 4,000 points of damage just to protect their back row. Then we're going to go Mystic Swordsman. So this was a pretty insane opening from both players, but Killer's was just slightly more insane with Duo, Pot, Graceful, Heavy Storm, and now Mystic Swordsman. Now, not guaranteed that this will connect, of course, with plenty of back row here from Joker, but if it does, that's another +1 in favor of Killer. Let's see if it gets through. We've got Ring of Destruction on the Mystic Swordsman to keep it alive. Okay, Joker will drop down all the way to 3,100 here quite early on. But if you have like Magician of Faith or something set, you definitely want to keep that around. Gravekeeper Spy would be good. So yeah, definitely kind of forced to ring that Mystic Swordsman there, but at least their monster will stick around. And the turn will end with Killer just setting a couple back row, but definitely in a solid position. I mean, I guess we're pretty even on cards after all is said and done, with the Sinister Serpent coming back to Joker's hand. So the key thing is going to be, is this a real flip monster, and how strong is it when it resolves? Graceful Charity would be pretty insane. We'll get MST into one of the sets, hitting a Solemn Judgment out of Killer. Typical main deck card in Chaos, or in Warrior, I should say, so not surprised to see that there. However, on Joker's side of things, they are on a Chaos deck, so seeing main deck Solemn isn't something you see every day. It is, I guess, more commonly main deck. I mean, you can main deck it in Turbo, definitely totally fine. It's also relatively common in Chaos Control, just to get you a nice, like, answer to pretty much any play in the format. Or this could be maybe a more aggressive deck. This could be like Chaos Warriors or something, potentially. Either way, MST in the end phase will hit a Solemn, so Killer just has this one back row left. Joker can grab the Serpent in standby phase, and then we'll see what this set monster is. This is a big moment. Going to flip up Magician of Faith, and we're going to go ahead and grab that Graceful Charity. So Joker here had an insane opening. Killer had an insane one to equalize, but now Joker is just going to do it all over again with Faith to recur that strong play that got them off to the lead in the first place. So we're going to fire off another Graceful here. We're going to discard a dead Nobleman of Crossout. as well as that Sinister Serpent securing the plus. And things are once again looking good here for Joker. We ripped Delinquent Duo off of the Graceful as well, which is insane. So going to decimate Killer's hand. And they're going to discard double Kaiku. Really interesting. Yeah, so this just looks like pretty standard Warrior here. So far, Kaiku, of course, would be pretty nice, especially with your opponent at 2,100 life points. And now we have a really interesting game where Joker definitely seems to be on the more controlling deck here. Maybe it's just Chaos Turbo. And they're trying to stabilize here at 2,100 life. Had to invest a ring, a duo, a solemn judgment, dropping them all the way this low. But now you're up a bunch of cards. So as long as you can hold on and grind this one out, you'll be in a solid position. We're going to add Tsukuyomi as well, Insult to Injury, setting up a Suk loop. Can just infinitely recur Graceful plus Sinister every turn to go insane in card advantage. So this is something Killer's going to have to break up immediately if they can. And to top it all off, Tsukuyomi is also a nice little clock here. Will kill Killer in 6 turns if left untouched. We do have the Sakuretsu armor in the main deck to answer the Tsukuyomi, which will prevent the damage from coming through and prevent the infinite Suk loop, but Faith will likely still get another resolution here to grab any one of these goodies in the grave. So Joker here in a really good spot. Oh, and we have Book of Moon on the Suk to keep it alive. Now, Suk could very well just get beaten over by any solid monster on Killer's side of the field, but Joker probably correctly assessing that, you know what, I can take this gambit because if they can't kill my Suk, I get to go infinite with the Faith still, and there's no way I lose. And even if they do manage to kill the Tsukuyomi, I still get to resolve another Faith to grab Graceful again. So it's not the end of the world. So I like this little bit of a risk. You could get 2 for 1 here with Saku essentially trading for Book plus the Suk. But if it doesn't happen and the Suk gets to live, you're just in an insane position. So I can understand Joker for going for this play. And this is Killer way far behind, of course, at this point in time. But you need to draw something to do with these monsters right now. Otherwise, it's just going to be GG. Just a back row, though. So looking like the Suk loop will continue. So Joker's gambit going to pay off, most likely. And they'll continue on this value train. Once again, regrab that Sinister Serpent. Set a back row before flipping the Faith. To play around potential Trap Dust Shoot. You want to keep that Serpent in hand, of course. Go grab that Graceful. Fire it off. All good stuff here. Discard Serpent and the worst card in the hand, which in this case is Dekoichi. Getting Light, Dark, and Grave, notably, for Chaos Monsters. I'm going to go set a couple back row. Then you probably flip summon the Suk. Flip the Faith face down, and then ping for 11 again. This time Killer will take the damage. All right. And then we'll pass turn. So things, once again, yeah, as expected. If Killer could not break up this combo last turn, it's basically GG. And I mean, look at how many cards Joker is up here. With the Sinister in the grave, with the Suk plus Faith ready to go next turn. It is basically GG at this point in time. Killer finds reinforcement of the army for Exiled Force. Just has to go 1 for 1, break up this Faith. Can't even go for a more aggressive option like a Blade Knight or something. Because there's plenty of outs Joker could potentially have in that back row. So you need like the priority effect of Exiled Force there. And stuff like Blade Knight also just dies to the Tsukuyomi as well. So it wouldn't even be that good. We're actually just going to Solemn the Exiled, though. So Joker's saying, you know what? This Suk loop is my key to victory. I'm going to drop down all the way to 1,050 life points, but as long as I can keep it going, I will be happy, and I'll stabilize this low. Now, Killer hasn't used Ring yet. And so, notably, Ring on Suk is game. This is likely not Ring, otherwise it probably would have been used last turn to blow up the Faith after it flipped or something. But Killer does have that out now if they were to like draw into Ring, So Joker does need to kind of win somewhat soon. Maybe the 5-turn clock of Tsukuyomi might not be enough, but we'll see. Joker, of course, could have like 3rd Solemn as well to deal with the Ring, in which case you're super safe. Let's see though. Keeping it interesting at least. We're gonna Raigeki break the back row here. Yeah, grab Sangan, discard it, whatever. It's Jar of Greed that Killer held for a really long time. Not a huge fan of that. I mean, at this point, it probably doesn't matter too much. Like, basically, you kept this jar here for a while because you were trying to I'm gonna say greedy, trying to be greedy, even though like you're this far behind, so you kind of sometimes have to hope you can high roll with these cards that are kind of volatile. However, they probably could have used something else to draw into. At this, like, I'm splitting hairs here because they're so far behind that it almost doesn't matter. And they do get a nice little plus here off the jar, trading +1 with their Regeki break, so it kind of worked out. But now the back row is clear, and Joker can just go to town. Faith grab Graceful, Graceful again, discard Serpent and Knock. Seen this already. Go for the Tsukuyomi. Sorry. Or we're going to go for a Breaker, summon BLS, and that's game. Nice. All right. So game one, pretty solid there of Joker. Both players had absolute haymaker openings. Trinity, or Graceful plus Thunder Dragon plus Serpent from Joker to go up a bunch of cards. Killer fought back with full Trinity there. They had Duo into Pot into Graceful. But then Joker, the one thing that Killer couldn't do was successfully out the set Magician of Fate that Joker was going to. And if you go Graceful plus Serp turn 1, and then turn 2 can resolve Faith and grab that same Graceful with the Serpent still around, there's almost no way you lose that as a Chaos Turbo player, and Joker just grinded that one out. So it was very haymaker hands clashing, but Joker had the better follow-up at the end of it, and also was going first, which definitely helped, because they were able to slam through their value cards before Killer could. We will go to game 2, though. This looks like a classic Warrior versus Chaos Turbo matchup. So one thing we know and love about this matchup is that there are tons of mind games in the side decking here. Will Warrior bring in flips or not? To counteract that, will Chaos Turbo bring in their or keep in their noblemans or things like that or not? Is the Turbo player on the more pure Chaos Turbo, Zambira, Sakuretsu Armor, Solemn Judgment side deck plan? Joker's main decking multiple copies of Solemn Judgment, so maybe they are just on that. Or are they on the Chaos Control smokescreen, right, with Scapegoat Metamorphosis, Creature Swap, maybe. Lots of potential configurations post-side. This is, one of the most studied matchups in the format, so every player is always trying to get as much of an edge as they possibly can by tweaking and trying to do things that are unexpected. And here in Game 2, Killer on this Warrior list will be able to go first. See what config they go for. Leading out with Pot of Greed, though, is always quite strong, no matter what list of 40 cards you're running. And we're going to go Pot into normal summon Kaiku with 2 back row to protect it. Just getting a body on board. Could be bad if Joker is on the Zambira plan. Just to give it a target to kill, but hopefully you have some protection for it. Joker is going to go ahead and fire off that Thunder Dragon. Not bad. Getting a Light Engrave, but the Kaiku Floodgate effect, of course, is in effect at the moment. And we're just going to go Thunder Dragon, set a monster with a couple back row pass. Try and wall out this Kaiku, protect the graveyard, all good stuff. We'll see if there's so I guess no Trap Dust Shootout of Killer here. We're going to end phase Dust Tornado, pop one of the back row, so hitting the Sakuretsu, so Joker here, at least bringing those in out of the side, most likely. Trying to, pave the way for this Kaiku to get in and get some value. Nobleman of Crossout, of course, really strong here. Rhoda for Exiled or Mystic Swordsman would also be pretty nice. So we are going to go Rhoda for Exiled, playing it safe here. Mystic Swordsman is the more offensive option where, if you can kill the set monster and then it'll still stick around to represent answers to future set monsters. However, it is pretty risky into a potential mirror force that we haven't seen just yet. Now, it is a lot less likely that the set is mirror force because Joker also set a Sakuretsu armor. Generally, there's not a lot of reason to set both of them, although it is a play that you can do. So if you were to not play it safe here, this is actually a decent time as the Warrior player where I think going for a Mystic Swordsman might be a little bit better, just because I don't think the punish is pretty likely here out of Joker. You might have knock or something, or I guess you don't have knock, otherwise you're not grabbing Exiled. Maybe your hand is so good, you already resolved Pot, so you're already a good bit ahead. So maybe saying, even if Mirror Force is unlikely, I just don't want to risk it because I'm already in a decent position. I can definitely understand that. Either way, though, the Exiled is going to come through here. We're going to pop the set. We're going to Solemn the Exiled. Okay. So for the second game in a row, Joker here solemning these Exiled forces. Really valuing keeping the set monsters on the board. I feel like that screams Gravekeeper Spy to me. Because anything else isn't worth protecting because it just will get killed by the Kaiku. But Spy resolving would be really, really strong when your opponent has already used their normal summon and just has a Kaiku on board. We're gonna run into it though, and it is it's Kinetic Soldier here out of Joker, so we're trying to protect it that way. This still walls out the Kaiku, so it does a decent job of that, and of course, an absolute house against warrior monsters. Just read the effect, right? Kaiku is one of the monsters that doesn't match up super duper favorably with, but definitely an absolute powerhouse card against warrior deck in general. So can definitely understand why you would want to invest a Solemn Judgment and 4,000 life points into protecting it from the Exiled Force, because this can just single-handedly win you the game against warriors. We're going to set a back row pass here for killer, and just be in a little bit of a stalemate here, which definitely favors the Chaos Turbo player. Had to, invest a lot of life points in that turn, but now going to try and stabilize at all costs. Joker here has the Graceful Charity, not too bad, with those double Thunder Dragons in hand. Going to be a pretty solid cash-in. We're going to Solemn that, though. I definitely like that out of killer. You definitely want to exploit the fact that Joker has these 2 dead Thunder Dragons in hand. So Solemning this will mean that they're likely just going to stay bricked for a little bit longer. See if Joker has any plays here. We're going to go Tribute Summon for Mobius. Interesting. So Mobius coming in out of the side. This is something that Chaos Turbo players can do. You don't see it all the time. And notably, removing this Cypher or the Kinetic Soldier, which, like I was just saying, is quite strong against Warrior. But maybe that was the other reason why you saw in the Exiled Forces. If you have the Mobius stuck in hand, and your other 2 cards are Thunder Dragons, right? You basically live and die by having a monster on the field in order to tribute summon something. So that makes the Solemn to protect your Kinetic Soldier even stronger, because it makes your hand better as well. And now this Mobius can come through, attempt to pop that back row and beat over the Kaiku. And if this does, this will be a really, really solid play. Big 2400 body is going to be tough for Killa to deal with at this point in time. We hit a Sakuretsu armor as well. So yeah, this is very, very solid advantage out of this Mobius coming through here. Like I said, not the most common card against Warrior out of the side deck anymore for Turbo players, but it is definitely something that has been used to great success in the past, and not surprised. It does have a very high ceiling. It's going to get a ton of value here. Going to beat for 600, send Kaiku to the grave. Really solid, and then continue, on its own. This is a nice, 2-turn clock, right? So, could be a little scary for Killer now, facing down this Mobius. Killer here has Smashing Ground to deal with it, though. That is you bring these in to deal with some Byras, but works just as well against a Mobius, so pretty solid. And then we have a second Kaiku to come through and start ravaging Joker's grave. Really solid there. Now, no Chaos live. In fact, no Darks in grave. So you probably just banish Thunder Dragon and, I guess, the Kinetic, maybe. Turbo generally does not play Call of the Haunted or Premature Burial. There aren't a lot of good targets in the deck because it's very, flip monster-centric. However, if you're playing, Kinetic Soldier and Mobius and stuff like that, maybe you are on Revival Traps, so choose wisely which of these 2 you want to banish with the Kaiku, I guess is my point there. Are you more worried about the Kinetic down the line or the Mobius? I guess the Mobius at this point in time is better against your board exactly, but the Kinetic will be better against your future boards. You know what I mean? Might not even matter, though, because Kaiku is a nice big clock here. I'm going to banish TD Mobius, yeah, I think that's probably correct. The choice between the Mobius and the Kinetic is pretty slim. It's basically just is there a very small chance that Joker is running some, resurrection cards? And then Kaiku will stick around here, threatening to beat in for another 1,800 points of damage. Joker on the back foot, but has plenty of cards here to do some stuff. Gonna set another monster. Definitely plenty of potential walls in the list if this is just standard Turbo. Killer here, we're just going to go, we're going to set a back row first. Not sure why we need to do that. But we're going to go ahead and summon Ninja Grandmaster Sasuke, which is pretty nice. Now, order here is interesting, right? Assuming this attack gets through and it's not just well, I guess the worst case scenario is that this is a Gravekeeper Spy, right? So I feel like you would rather attack with the Grandmaster second to clean up the second one. You know what I mean? And because you don't really care too much about the Kaiku banishes at this point because they don't have light or dark in the grave. So yeah, I think attacking with the Kaiku first makes sense. It is the Spy, and then Grandmaster can kill the second one. This does get a dark in grave for Joker, so they can turn Chaos on by just discarding one of those Thunder Dragons that are in their hand. But that's where the Kaiku Floodgate effect comes in. And Killer has assembled a pretty strong board here. Grandmaster deals with the most effective wall in Joker's deck, aka Gravekeeper Spy, and the Kaiku keeps them off of the Chaos Blaze that could, ruin their board. So this is a pretty dastardly duo here. I won't call it a delinquent duo because that term is pretty monopolized, but a dastardly duo coming in here for Killer, which is potentially just kind of checkmating Joker at this point in time, unless they can find like a Mirror Force or something like that. Joker here, though, has one spy to their name and a bunch of cards in hand. Gonna go set a monster with a back row. So the duo is still around. We'll see if Killer can continue to get value here. We're gonna go Heavy Storm, a little pro set Heavy Storm. Not always super valuable against Turbo, but when you're just trying to beat in with your monsters, it's just good to clear the back row. Even if this is like a Jar of Greed, you don't care. You'll take the +1, or you'll take the -1 to make sure that you can connect with your big guys here. And you just hit the Mirror Force. Wow, that's actually huge. So Joker, right on cue, had basically the one card that could ruin Killer's day at this point in time. But the Heavy Storm, well timed to deal with that. And now we're going to see even more value out of these two big boys. We'll see if we add any other monsters to the board. No, just going to set a back row. You want to, just in case this is like Night Assailant, although I don't like that post-side against Warrior. Sometimes it makes the cut, I guess. And some people play it even if they shouldn't. But I think you just go, in case it is Night Assailant, you just want to go Ninja Grandmaster, kill the Spy first, and then Kaiku attack the second, so that you guarantee to at least kill one of their monsters before the Night Assailant effect comes through. But yeah, kill the Spy. Kaiku kills Magician of Faith with a Graceful Engrave, so this is actually kind of nice for Joker. Going to be able to at least get some card draw through here. Setting up for Chaos if they can deal with the Kaiku as well. So if they can find a Chaos monster and a way to deal with the Kaiku, they could be sitting pretty. So it'll be a pretty pivotal Graceful Charity activation here. I guess we know the hand is just double Thunder Dragon too. So if you're Killer, you're Solemning this Graceful all day, I feel like, right? Most of the advantage you got here so far was being able to, was off the back of Solemning the first attempt of the Graceful Charity, keeping those two Thunder Dragons stuck in Joker's hand, so that you could just, your superior board presence can matter more, right? So if we can prevent that from happening again, I feel like we definitely should. Killer gonna set a monster and then pass, so maybe they are on some flips post side. Wouldn't be weird to see like a Faith, a Spy, even like a Dekoichi. Sometimes you'll see post side in Warrior lists. Could also be Morphing Jar. That's kind of a newer tech that you see pop up now and again nowadays. Joker, of course, going to fire off that Graceful. This will resolve, so no Solemn out of Killer here. We're going to discard the double Thunder Dragon. And now Joker's got a nice, fresh hand of 4 new cards to start picking away at this board if possible. See what the game plan is. It's going to be Breaker the Magical Warrior. Now, age-old question, do you pop the back row and then just have a weak monster on board? Or do you try and kill a monster and then pop the back row main phase 2? Depends on what else is in your hand, of course, but both are totally fine in this scenario. We're going to go for the riskier play. We're going to go keep the token on Breaker, try and kill the Kaiku, remove the Floodgate effect. So to me, this reads like Joker probably has a Chaos Monster in hand, because we're risking it all to kill this Kaiku. And it is going to go through. So now Chaos is live. We're just going to set a couple back row, though. Maybe you don't want to do it in main phase 2, potentially. Or maybe the idea is, I just want a 1900 attack monster on the board because it's bigger than my opponent's too. You know what I mean? So just using it as like a budget Zombira, essentially. Now if Killer top decks Blade Knight or something, that could ruin Joker's day. But this is a pretty strong play, at least for the time being. We're going to end phase Dust Tornado, pop one of these new back row, hitting a Scapegoat. So it looks like Joker, I mean, honestly, could have been on Chaos Control the entire time. That would make the main deck Solemns make a little bit more sense, and we could have just not seen any of the Scapegoat meta stuff in game 1. But potentially also just running the smoke screen. But yeah, so hitting the Scapegoat here, Killer's going to be really happy with that, especially because you're not going to be anticipating it. So now, A, having the knowledge that this is something that your opponent can do, and B, now it just can't resolve and gum up all the works here, you're pretty happy with that as Killer. That's a really valuable Dust Tornado snipe there. Draw for turn. We've got top deck Snatch Seal on the breaker is so insane. We need like MST or Regeki Break or Dust Tornado out of Joker. Otherwise, it is probably GG. And no, that's just going to be it. Yeah, that was an insane top deck. I thought Joker had a decent attempt there at stabilizing with this breaker. But, you know what? Snatch Steal is a pretty good card, and Killer was able to have done just enough damage, basically forced through enough aggression while Joker was trying to unbrick their hand, such that even when Joker was finally able to resolve that Graceful Charity and cash in their Thunder Dragons, they were too low on life that one card out of Killer, like a Ring of Destruction, a Chaos Monster, or Snatch Steal, would be enough to force through enough damage to close out the game before Joker could stabilize. And that's exactly what we saw there. So classic Warrior game plan there. Really aggressive right off the start, and then find a way to push through the last point of damage right before the, I guess in this case, Chaos Control player can attempt to stabilize against you. And how big of a Dust Tornado was that, by the way? Otherwise, this Snatch Steal play just gets stopped right in its tracks, runs into a wall of Go tokens, and Joker can maybe stabilize from there. So really solid 50-50 hit on that Dust Tornado, because clearly the other back row was not something chainable. And yeah, we're going to go to game 3. Really back and forth game there, game 2. Really interesting stuff, and I'm excited to see what both players are going to bring to the table here in game 3 and there. I do not speak German, which I believe this is, but we can all kind of understand that, you know, that was a pretty good 50-50 on the Dust Tornado to hit the Scapegoat, which sealed the deal there for Killer. Game 3, though, Joker will be able to go first on what I guess is just Chaos Control here, or at least Turbo siding into Control against aggro matchups, which is pretty common nowadays. Gonna fire off Thunder Dragon for the third time in a row this match, so pretty good luck, at least in that sense, for Joker, always finding those Thunder Dragons. Now, game 1, they were able to cash that in immediately with the Graceful Charity, which really, really put them in a good spot for the rest of the game, even helping them weather the storm of the full Trinity turn 1 from Killer. Game 2, though, Killer had the Solemn Judgment to negate the Graceful, so they couldn't cash in their Thunder Dragons, and that was, I think, the key decision that led to Killer's win that game. So now, maybe the important thing here is Joker being able to go first has the opportunity to just cast these in before Killer can even put up a response, right? And I feel like this matchup, more than a lot in the format, is so predicated on who goes first, like Warrior versus Turbo, is so first player advantaged for a number of reasons, this being one of them. And so if Joker can like go off and have a big like Chaos Turbo opening like crazy Trinity sack hand before Killer can get out of bed in the morning, might just be GG. Looks like we have no way to cash it in just yet, though. We're just going to go T-set pass. So still 2 dead Thunder Dragons in hand, potentially. And this might be an opening for Killer to exploit here, especially if they open some Trinity of their own. Let's see, though. Show me pot. Show me duo. There's duo. So 2 Thunder Dragons in hand, so might not get full value here, but just trying to snipe a real card here. See what we grab. Dun, dun, dun. We snag a Thunder Dragon, though, so a little bit unfortunate. They will both just hit the grave. So Joker, they're not able to really cash in their Thunder Dragons, but at least being able to use it to insulate from the Delinquent Duo, which you're probably pretty happy about. And then Killer's just going to go set a monster pass. Now, we never got to see what their set monster in game 2 was, although Joker could maybe have a read that that was actually a real flip. So interested to see if Joker maybe saw that and decided to like keep it a knock or something. We're going to go flip summon Gravekeeper Spy, though. Okay, summoning it in defense, though, definitely makes sense, especially against Warrior. That 2,000 defense is a lot more important than the 1,200 attack. Do we have knock or anything, or are we just going to poke this and go from there? We're going to normal summon the Kinetic Soldier, so Joker, a lot of big units on the board. This is a lot of attack points pretty early on. We'll see what Killer was cooking up here with this set, though. It's going to be Magician of Faith, so Killer is running some flips post side, which is pretty common nowadays in the Warrior versus Turbo matchup. They will be able to re-grab this Delinquent Duo. However, of course, this is known duo now, so Joker could maybe play around it if they're able to. However, Spy will be able to... Okay, Joker, why are you losing life? You just expected to run. That's funny. Did you just expect to run into Gravekeeper Spy there? Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, you get to clear out the Faith. It'll cycle for that duo, and then Kinetic can at least get in for a little bit of damage, and then you know sit there menacingly. So decent turn there for Joker. Oh, unfortunately, unable to play around this duo though, so Killer likely gonna get full value here. Um, unless we've got like Knight Assailant plus flip in hand out of Joker. But that seems pretty low percentage at this point. Killer here, let's see. Just fire off that duo, right? Surely. We're gonna go Heavy Storm first. Okay. And we hit the Mirror Force. Second game in a row, Heavy Storm clearing out that Mirror Force. Pretty solid. Now do we go for the duo? Sure. We hit a Metamorphosis. Okay. Not any amazing targets right now, but is just good to get the card advantage, of course. And Joker will discard a Breaker, which is another very solid card in the matchup. It does turn Chaos on, though, notably getting a Dark Engrave. So Joker does have some plays available to them. But this is just so much advantage here for Killer. Heavy Storm, not only clearing out the back row to make their plays safe this turn, but also hitting Mirror Force of all cards, which is, of course, one of, a control deck's key units against aggro decks, right? And then Duo to get the nice little +1 there. Can we clean up these spies? Do we have like Snatch Steal? Would be pretty crazy right now. Let's see. Tribe Infecting Virus is another pretty good one. Can clear out both of these spies relatively for free. Gonna go beat over the Kinetic first, and then main phase 2 probably pop the spies, get a little bit of damage in. And we're actually just gonna set a couple back row pass, maybe waiting to get something better to deal with these spies. We'll see if they get punished for this though, because if Joker has an out to the spy, or like a Tsukuyomi or something to set their own spies, or like a Book of Moon, Tribe won't be getting full value here. But I can definitely understand if Killer has some good cards they don't want to discard to Tribe, it might be worth just waiting a turn. Interesting ploy though. We'll see if it pays off though, or not. Must not have like a Dead Dust Shoot in hand, by the way. I just looked over all of them. Sorry about that. Joker has Snatch Shield though. Okay, so maybe getting punished. Okay, get in for 16. Get in for 28. We're gonna let that through. We're actually just gonna MST the Snatch Steal. Okay. So we did have an out to at least Snatch. Tribe will come back and wall out that spy. Yeah, I guess the Tribe attacked first. So the spy, of course, would not be attacking if the Tribe was already on that side of the field. So it can turn to defense in mid phase 2. Joker gonna add another set monster to the board. But no back row or anything. The one out to Tribe was answered. So Tribe here. Killer's ploy working out here because they're going to be able to get to their turn, see another card to get them another option to discard to kill these tribes. So looking pretty solid. Nice little slow roll there to get a little bit more percentage point value there. Just going to go straight to battle phase and attack down this set monster. This gets creamed by Knight Assailant, but we haven't seen Joker play one at all 3 matches. It's just going to be a Sangan. So Joker could... Sinister Serpent will wall up the tribe forever. Tsukuyomi can just kill the tribe, but is vulnerable to like Sakuretsu armor or something like that. So Joker has some interesting options here. We'll see what they choose to go for. It's going to be the Suk, the more aggressive, more risky of the two, but you are going to be pretty low down here in terms of card advantage once this tribe kills your stuff. So I can understand going for the play that at least has a chance of kind of recuperating some of that lost card advantage. Even if it is a little bit riskier. Sometimes when you're behind, you got to risk it for the biscuit, right, guys? So I like to play out of Joker. Trying to be a little bit more aggressive with that Sangan search. And main phase 2. Well, we're still going to keep the spies around. So Killer saying, you know what, I must have an out to the Tsukuyomi as well. We're really, really trying to min-max this tribe activation. But I guess at no point has Tribe been able to get in for damage really anyway, because there was always another monster on board besides just the spies. So it's not like you're giving up any potential damage here by not going for the tribe play just yet. Once again, potential for Joker to punish the slow roll. But Killer seems pretty confident that they have, outs to whatever Joker can do here. Maybe they just have like Solemn set and they're like, I don't really care what you draw because I just have the answer for it. Maybe you don't have the answer to Pot of Greed though. Okay, if you have Solemn, I feel like you kind of have to Solemn this pot, right? Unless Solemn is your only out to the Tsukuyomi, which in which case that seems like a bad play. Um, but I feel like Solemning this pot seems pretty good. It's gonna come through though. Okay, so maybe Killer doesn't have the Solemn, just has the outs to the Suk. We're gonna go for the Suk play. Oh, the play was to go Torrential Tribute the whole time. That's interesting. So Killer valuing the other cards over this tribe and the that's really interesting. I mean, I guess when the dust settles, we're pretty even here, and you know what Warrior likes being even in a simplified game state normally, right? However, Chaos is live for Joker, so they do have some pretty powerful top decks available to them, namely the Chaos monsters, right? So it's not guaranteed that Killer wins this top deck war, right? So this is really interesting strategy out of Killer. Was it worth sandbagging your tribe this long with the plan just being to torrential to wipe the board? That's pretty interesting. It's not clear to me that this is like bad necessarily. It just seems pretty unintuitive to just never use this tribe effect the whole time when you're staring down two spies. Um, and like you could have just used it and then later on gone for a torrential play. I think, of course, part of it depends on what the other cards that you would be discarding for the tribe effect are, right? But like he chose to keep torrential, he chose to keep MST, and two cards that we don't know about. So like, were either of these cards better than like double tribe? I'm not sure. Like yeah, the Sangan on the Suk play was kind of annoying, but I feel like, especially if torrential is your only out to chaos, going for this play seems not that amazing. We'll see though. We'll definitely see. It was an interesting investment. It may or may not pay off. Torrential is going to resolve here, wiping the board. Like I said, both players will be even in a simplified board state. Killer down the LP, but as the warrior player, you're probably fine with this anyway. And we'll see if the other two back row are good enough to kind of make it worth it. Joker just going to slam down BLS though. Is this it? We just going to get in? We're going to ring the BLS. Okay, so we had an out to the Suk. Okay. Oh, so here's the issue, right? We had an out to the Suk in the form of this ring. However, if the Suk comes down and flips the tribe face down, it's not just Suk that can kill it, right? Joker could, be like, okay, maybe you have Saku, maybe you have Ring, and turn one of the spies to attack position to then beat over the tribe as well. So you didn't actually have any clean answers to the Tsukuyomi at all, right? Pretty unfortunate. Well, in that case, then, so if your only answer to the Suk was Ring of Destruction without going the torrential play, shouldn't you just tribe kill the spies so that way even if they go for the Suk play and flip it face down, Ring can kill it and then the tribe lives? Maybe we just really, really cared about whatever card in hand this is, which we will likely see. But man, that just seems so awkward. Now, of course, top deck Pot of Greed is not something we can always be prepared for, right? And yeah, I don't know. That's just really tricky. I feel like really unintuitive. And like I said, like I can definitely see why you can be confident in not using tribe at any point there. But it just feels so unintuitive, right? And I'm not sure if you're gonna if it'll always pay off. Or if it'll even pay off most of the time, which is what you should be thinking about when you make those decisions. You know what I mean? Either way, though, we're gonna ring the BLS. Killer will drop down to 1650. Deal a good chunk to Joker as well. So if Killer can stick a threat, this is actually a good amount of progress towards winning the game. But now both players are down to one or two cards in hand. Killer here has the Kaiku, so that's what they held. They held Kaiku in hand because they didn't shuffle their hands, so we knew that the Kaiku was what they held. And so they held Kaiku, which also doesn't seem that great into the Suk, right? But is it just gonna go? Is Kaiku just gonna go crazy here? Maybe. Let's see. Let's beat him. Oh, we just got the scapegoat coming through. Okay, there we go. Now you want to wait till battle phase to do this, in case killer has premature on the. I guess premature on the tribe wouldn't do anything, because they have no card to discard to its effect. So yeah, main phase 1 can't really get punished here, unless it show me token Thanksgiving, right? That'd go crazy, but seems pretty unlikely. Then we're just gonna kill a token, set a back row pass. So killer is in a decent spot here, but holding on to the Kaiku instead of pitching it to kill the spies when Suk was known in hand is a little interesting. Definitely let me know what you guys think down in the comments, because this was some pretty cool decision making from killer that, you know, I'm not saying is bad. It's just like very unintuitive, and it's not clear to me if it was correct or not. So I definitely want to know your guys' thoughts. Joker here though can at least wall out this Kaiku for several turns. Let's see, we're gonna go Graceful Charity. That's a pretty solid top deck. Let's see what we draw into. Discard Faith and a Saku. So what are we keeping that's better than those two cards? Must be something good. It's going to be Metamorphosis, so we're going to go into Thousand Eyes Restrict and try and suck the Kaiku in and attack for game. That seems better than Faith and Saku, because we can just win the game right on the spot here. I'm going to go suck in that Kaiku, and that is going to be it. GG. Looks like the back row was that Premature Burial. Kind of funny. So they did have the Prima for the tribe, just no other card in hand to use. And killer there, gonna get punished for... Oh, were we even punished for never using that tribe, though? I don't know. Just really, really interesting line there. Obviously, not working out in the end for killer. Gonna drop this match. 2-1, 2 Joker on Chaos Control here. Able to grind this one out. But some really, really back-and-forth games here, especially Game 2 was, I think, really interesting. Game 1 was really cool as well. Both players with absolute haymaker hands smashing into each other. Notably, the player that went first every game won, which, like I was saying before, I feel like is very, very important, specifically in this matchup, a lot more than it is in other ones. But yeah, well played from both players. Joker going to eke it out in the end after a lot of back and forth and some interesting lines from both players. Like I said, let me know what you think down in the comments, especially about some of the decision making here in Game 3. Hope you liked it. I'll catch you all next time.